Hello there, I'm Gloria Macarenko. All right, it may not exactly be the new year that we had hoped, but we can still find ways to safely enjoy ourselves and enjoy our city. This is Our Vancouver. Coming up, a burst of backyard rinks after the recent cold snap, and yummy ways to get more plants in your diet. But first, a check-in with a travel industry employee who's doing all he can to stay positive. Well, here we are in a brand new year, all sorts of hopes and dreams, and the pandemic is still with us. And that means readjusting some of our expectations, of course, and learning to live with what we can control in order to stay positive. Now, we first met Fred Marsh in the summer of 2020. And at that time, he was a furloughed travel consultant, and he was doing a hike a day to keep his spirits up and get outside. He posted his hikes to YouTube under the name Freddie Got Furloughed. Well, Fred is back at work, although it's not quite the same to be in the travel industry these days, and he still hikes when he can as well. Fred, hello there, welcome back.
Hi, Gloria. Great to see you. I'm thinking actually I need to call it Freddie Not Furloughed because I'm working again. So I haven't had time to update the YouTube channel, but I think that'll be my next plan.
Okay, it's all about being adaptable in these times for sure. Now, when you look back at those 5 months when you were furloughed, what lessons on how to get through hard times do you take to heart even today?
Well, the last time I talked to you, I had mentioned that I had kind of a tough time when I got furloughed because I was having anxiety, which I didn't know at the time, and I was having panic attacks. So I decided that I really needed to get outside and get some exercise, first of all. I stopped watching, I know this is CBC, I probably shouldn't say this, but I stopped watching as much news because I needed to limit myself on that because it seemed to be a lot of bad news. And just getting outside, and then I started the YouTube channel because I needed a project. I needed a creative project to work on. So that gave me an excuse to get outside and explore this beautiful area that we live in, but it also gave me a project to do with the YouTube channel.
And what did the YouTube channel help do for you? I mean, in terms of connections or feedback?
Well, it was great because it gave me, it kind of forced me to go out. I was going out almost every day when the weather was nice and doing a different hike and exploring a different area. So that was incredible. But then also just I'm kind of a creative person. So I really enjoyed the editing process and putting it together and putting it up on YouTube. And then I've been getting some really great feedbacks from people that are checking out some of these hikes that I did.
Okay, that's great. Now, I know you've been back at work in the resort travel industry, and I understand this still has its ups and downs. How's it going right now?
It's going okay. I'm actually not a travel agent. I
Right.
work for a resort company with all-inclusive resorts in Mexico and the Caribbean. So, of course, things aren't great. They were going better until this last hurdle that we've overcome. So we're hanging in there, but it's definitely not a great time to be working in the travel industry. And there's a lot of travel agents. That travel agents are my clients, and there's a lot of travel agents that are very depressed right now because things were just starting to come back, and then we had this happen. So it's we're hopeful. I think this is going to be hopefully in the next couple of months we're going to be a little bit back to normal once we get through this Omicron.
Well, what do you do now? You talked about hiking every day, but you can't do that every day now that you're working mostly full time. How are you keeping your positive attitude?
Well, that's it. I'm still getting out. I'm not doing the major hikes. I'm saving that for the weekend. And actually, last time I spoke with you, you asked me, once the weather turns cold and it's rainy, am I going to be going out? And I'm like, oh, of course, I'm going to keep going on my hikes, and nothing's going to change. Well, I found out I'm a fair weather hiker. I don't like snow. I don't want to go out in the rain. So I've been doing a lot of the regional parks. I don't know if a lot of your viewers realize, but we are so lucky with so many incredible regional parks that are easy. You're not having to worry about, avalanche risks. You're not going into the back country. But we have so many great regional parks. So I'm just going out every day, even when it's raining and I don't want to do it. And I'm always glad that I did it afterwards. And it's really for my mental health. And also, physically. Like I'm 55 now and I'm probably in the best shape that I've ever been in with all this walking and hiking.
Good to hear. Good to hear. That's really been my salvation as well. Just get outside, no matter the weather. What are some of your favorite local hikes? You talked about the parks. Any standouts for you?
Yeah, for regional parks, well, I really like Burnaby Lake. I find that if you just want to do a hike and easy, pretty flat, it's 10K, which is kind of like the perfect amount for me. And it's a loop because you go around the lake, so you're not passing the same scenery twice. That would be a great one. I also discovered Tynehead Regional Park, which is in Surrey, just off Highway 1. That one was great. Of course, Jug Island trail out in Port Moody. And another one that I discovered late last year was Catesy Marsh Trail, which is another loop trail out in Pitt Meadows with beautiful scenery.
I love that. You know, I've been making regular trips up Grouse Mountain on the weekends, but I'm a little leery with all the snowfall and the avalanche warnings. How worried about that are you?
I'm not worried at all because, like I mentioned, I don't like snow. So I'm not going anywhere where there could be an avalanche. I'm sticking really to the city parks and regional parks until the weather gets better in the spring.
You know, we've just done a check-in with you because we are truly interested in how you're doing and how important is it to do this with our friends and family, I guess, as the pandemic continues. Make this kind of a friend and family community event.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great thing. And that's, the beauty of getting outside is that sort of one of the things that we can do. So we do that a lot of times with friends. We'll, instead of meeting up at somebody's house or going out somewhere, we'll just say, hey, let's meet up at a park and we'll go for a walk and get our visit in that way and get our steps in and get some exercise and fresh air.
Well, and what about your personal hopes for 2022? How optimistic are you feeling?
I am very optimistic. So for the travel industry, this is definitely the year. It's going to come back as soon as we're done with this. I don't think it's going to last too long. And then I'm just going to keep this up. I got into biking last year, and at the end of the summer, I actually bought an e-bike. And no, it's not cheating. Everybody says an e-bike is cheating, but it's not. It's just you can go further. And I live in New Westminster. These hills are a killer. I need an e-bike to help with some of these hills out here.
Well, Freddie, I'm so glad that we've had a chance to check in again and see you doing so well. Keep up that positive attitude and a very happy new year to you.
Thanks, you too, Gloria. Thank you.
I'm Nick, and this is our Vancouver.
All right, it's time for one of our favorite features. This is where we get to showcase a number of the photographs that are sent in by you, our audience. Now, the snow has sent so many photography buffs outdoors to capture some great images. Barbara Fury was at the right place at the right time to see this snow plow sending a stream of snow into the Fraser River from the Golden Ears Bridge. Neat stuff there, Barbara. Thanks so much for sending in that one. And Deborah Agagao was out near the Hillcrest Centre in Vancouver and fell in love with the snow-covered trees. Just lovely, so picturesque. And finally, Fazil Awal shows us something that we rarely see, an entire city covered in the white stuff. Thank you, Fazil, for your wonderful eye. It has been so gorgeous. So get out there and send us more. You can email your favorite photos to us, bcphotos@cbc.ca. bcphotos@cbc.ca. We look forward to receiving more of those. Now, here is a story to remind us of the angels among us. Carol Hine was a nurse by profession, but she extended her care to the animal world by rescuing old, sick, abandoned animals, and that started back in 2004. So Hine is retiring and handing over the sanctuary to a new director. And CBC Vancouver's Creator Network marked that occasion with this short film.
This is our memorial garden. 30 to 50 animals will end their lives here every year. We're obviously very attached to them, and when they pass away, we hang a wind chime for them, and then we paint their names on a rock. every animal has the potential to find a home. The animals that are deemed unadoptable through other shelters, it's because their care needs are too great to be able to find them that perfect home within a reasonable time frame. I really believe that mankind has lost its value of service, and that, if we want our lives to be meaningful, then we need to be of service to something or someone. I chose my nursing career, and I chose caring for seniors and special needs animals. When I first started Saints, it was just me. I walked onto a private property with 30 animals and wasn't sure what was going to happen. And then people just started joining me along the way. Saints was built by volunteers, and the volunteer component here is huge. Back in 2007, that's when we hired our first staff. Everybody brings something special here, whether it's a certain kind of knowledge or a skill, but the one thing everybody has in common is their dedication to animals, their love for animals, their respect for animals. We generally have on site anywhere from 100 to 130 animals, and that includes, little Donatello, our turtle, to our chickens and our quail and our budgies and the horses and cows and dogs, cats. And then we usually have about 50 animals out in permanent foster care where they get to live in a home and they're loved and they're well cared for, and we cover their medical expenses, which is one of the biggest barriers to, senior or sick animals finding homes. Emily came in as a one-day-old calf. She's called a free martin, which means that she's sterile, not good for the dairy industry. She is the kindest, gentlest cow on the face of the earth. This is Lisa, and Lisa loves people. She had an injury where she fractured her vertebrae along the top of her shoulders, and she's not good for riding anymore. Nova lost her home when she was 5 months old because she couldn't be house trained. Her family didn't realize that she had a bladder infection, and that's why she couldn't be house trained. The whole retirement issue came up because I am getting older, and it's a good time to be making the transition. Saints is on a good track. We have great people that are here that can carry us forward.
Carol put a wonderful foundation in here at Saints. Moving forward, we're going to continue to grow the organization through education about the importance of care for those special needs, and that they do have a purpose and that you can care for them. And then also increasing supporters and space. The more support we have, the more animals that we can save.
When I created Saints, I wanted a place where the animals who didn't necessarily fit in had a place where they did fit, where they were loved, where they were accepted. That transposes animal. People can look at the animals here who have lived difficult lives, who might not be the nicest animals. Maybe they bite, maybe they have behavioral issues, but we accept them and we still see their value. And I want that to transpose over into our neighbors and our co-workers, and we need to open our minds, and if we can start with the animals, maybe we can open it larger to include the rest of humanity too.
Now, turning your backyard into a skating rink, it may be common in some parts of this country, but not so much here in Vancouver. Well, one family took advantage of the rare recent cold snap to hit the ice. And as Philip O'Weara tells us, it has become an opportunity to bring loved ones together.
Chris Eddy has not had this much fun since he was a teenager. Back then, he and his brothers would turn this family sports court into an ice rink. Most years, the conditions on the West Coast are far from perfect for such a storybook moment, but this year it's been optimal.
There's been about 3 or 4 times over the course of 30 years where it's gotten cold enough in Vancouver that we can build a rink, because it takes a little while. And certainly we've never had it over the Christmas holiday, so it's been pretty special.
The brothers use a garden hose to spray water on the court until it freezes, a process that's repeated until it's perfect.
Snow helps. We're pushing kind of snow out to the edges, and then we take a garden hose out of the garage and start layering one at a time. And every time you have to take the garden hose back in so it doesn't freeze. So it's, probably 15 layers that we're putting on, 15 to 20, and doing it at night when it's really cold. And it slowly builds up, and we've been able to skate on the past few days.
This is the first time since 2006 Chris and his brothers have turned this sports court into a skating rink. But this year it's extra special because it means it has brought the entire family together.
Chris lives in Kelowna. Over the last 2 years, it has been difficult for all of them to get together because of COVID restrictions. Their father uses a wheelchair, and the rink has made it possible for the entire family to gather for a little outdoor fun safely. His children love it too.
My mom doesn't really know how to skate that well, so I normally play with my dad.
With temperatures set to warm up over the next few days, Chris and his family have limited time on the ice before it all melts away. And they plan to make use of it as much as they can. Philip Owera, CBC News, Vancouver.
Coming up, Johanna Wagstaffe talks with a UNBC scientist about the climate disasters of 2021 and why there's still hope for 2022.
I don't need to explain to anyone that 2021 was an unusual year for British Columbians.
We're talking about the heat dome, followed by the wildfires, followed by the flooding. Brian Menounos is a glaciologist from the University of Northern British Columbia, and he says the fingerprint of climate change was all over the events of 2021.
The heat dome, for example, many, many times greater due to human activity. The attribution or the detection of whether these particular floods are due to humans, that's ongoing research, but it is consistent with the data that shows in a warming climate, we should expect more of these atmospheric rivers. We're no longer talking about future climate change. We are talking about change that is happening right now.
Brian is part of a team of researchers with the Hakai Institute called the Airborne Coastal Observatory. They're using a plane to map and monitor our changing environment from the sky. He saw the extreme melt to our glaciers after the heat dome, and he was up in the air again assessing erosions and landslides caused by the atmospheric river. He says the key to getting ahead of the next disaster is rapidly sharing the data they collect while they're in the sky.
One of the advantages of universities, but also foundations such as Hakai that specialize on geospatial data collection, is that there are amazing and emergent partnerships and opportunities that arise when many of these groups are working together as a team rather than as individual silos.
And that's why the Geological Survey of Canada has just announced an emerging partnership with Hakai Institute. They too agree that a partnership between different agencies is key.
In many cases, some of the events that we're seeing are happening so rapidly that there's almost not enough time for any one organization or agency to do it all. Collecting good Earth observation data, making it available, allowing all partners to have equal access to those data to make sensible decisions. That's really going to help communities going forward.
And now, you're Science Smart. If you have a science question on your mind, send me a tweet. I'll try to get it answered.
Johanna, thanks so much. You are watching Our Vancouver. I'm Gloria Makarenko. Well, we are all in a marathon of a pandemic. With surges of cases and regulations changing, it can be difficult to stay positive. Well, mental health experts say focus on what you can control, and that includes what food you put in your body. Alyssa Bauman is a certified holistic nutritionist and a great friend of the program. Melissa, hello there and a happy new year to you.
Hi, Gloria. Happy New Year to you.
You know, it's been a little while since we checked in with you. Just in general, how are you and your family doing? How have you been weathering the pandemic?
Oh, thanks for asking. Knock on wood, we're actually all doing well. Thank you. Yeah, we're riding out this longer than expected type of storm.
Longer than expected.
Yes.
What is your key, to staying positive, even staying motivated for health?
You know, that's a great question, and it's something I think about every single day. Healthy is a daily intention. So when I wake up in the morning and I think, what am I going to do for myself today? How am I going to be able to show up for myself, show up for my family, and feel my absolute best? And for me personally, with experience, I have seen that fueling your body with whole foods, plants, more plants, the most amount of plants that we could possibly eat, and greens at every single meal really have proven to help me through and weather the storm for both myself, my family, all of my clients. So the more you eat well, the better you feel. And yes, of course, we have a lot of the outside noise coming in, but we can focus on what we put in our body. And when you focus on the good, more good comes back. So one of the biggest things that I tell my friends, my family, my clients is to get your greens in. And I swear by the green juice, Gloria. I know you and I have talked about this before, and maybe 5 years ago when I was on the show, and I have to say, nothing really new has changed in the world of eating your best. So getting your greens in, whether it's in my go-go juice, which is actually really a smoothie, in salads, in stir fries, making greens the basis of your meals. That has been a mainstay in my life, my household's life, my family's life.
I love it. Okay, I love the palette in front of you as well, that green palette. It just oozes good health for sure. So what goes into the juice?
So in this green juice it's actually a smoothie. So you have all of the fiber. You have, today it is spinach. Sometimes it's kale, but the majority of it is a good 2 handfuls of spinach or kale. Always a cucumber, always some kind of herb. I'm a big fan of cilantro. Some people don't love cilantro. You can put in some parsley, ginger and lemon, and the combo of ginger and lemon really help boost your immunity. And then I put in some celery because it's a super alkalining food, and fill it up with water. It could be any kind of water. It could be coconut water. And then a handful of fruit. Right now I have an abundance of apples from the Okanagan from the summer. And I just cut those up and throw them in there, and then I blend it. And this can stay good in your fridge for about 2 to 3 days. The difference between this is that this is a smoothie, and as I said, you have all the fiber in here. And what I love about fiber is that it keeps your gut healthy. So our gut microbiomes feed on fiber. And when our gut is healthy, we're healthy because it really affects your mood.
You know, when you were last in studio, you showed us a kale salad where you massage the kale leaves with the olive oil or with some type of oil, and then you put nutritional yeast on it with a little bit of lemon juice as well. That's become a staple in our household. I love it. So thank you so much for that. Any other quick tricks or recipes to share?
I'm so happy you're using that. Yes, actually, going into the new year and whatnot, like bolognese. Right? So traditionally a bolognese is made with some kind of meat, turkey or ground beef. Another thing that really helps boost the mood around here is, swapping out some of the meats and using a plant-based protein like lentils. Super easy to cook with. And you can swap this out for, if you want to go no veg, use all lentils, or if you want to just start a little bit at a time going more plant-based, use half lentils and half meat. You could also substitute some meat for mushrooms. Mushrooms have a great meaty consistency as well. Or you can even use, believe it or not, nuts. Walnuts. If you put them in this Vitamix, they break down and they have a very meaty texture. And then you can add all the veg that you love for your classic bolognese. And there you have like a meat, plant-based bolognese. So it's all about playing around and really finding what works for you and swapping out the things that may, not work for you, or you want to bring more plant-based foods into your life. It's not an all or nothing approach. It's just playing around in the kitchen and swapping in more plants, because the more plants you eat, the better you're going to feel.
Well, I know that you walk the walk, but you've been a nutritionist and you've been a wellness coach for an awfully long time now. So when you talk to new clients, what's the key to getting these new habits and this new focus on nurturing your body, making these habits stick?
Again, it's right back to how we started this conversation. When you wake up, make health a priority. It doesn't have to be this all or nothing thing. I'm never going to have chocolate again. I'm never going to have a steak again. But start with the very next bite and think about it. Like, think about what you're going to eat in your day. I know for breakfast, I'm going to have some oatmeal with some berries and some nuts. I know I'm going to get my greens in because I'm already thinking about it. I am set up for success because I have a refrigerator that's packed full of fruits and veg, and a lot of these things, are pantry staples. So if you have it, you will eat it. Like, this is a chia and hemp seed. These are really big containers. I just leave them in my fridge, and everybody in my house, I have a busy household, they just pull it and they put it in themselves. So when you set yourself up and you know that your focus is healthy, it makes it that much easier. And sometimes, Gloria, it doesn't come that easy even to me. It has to be a daily intention. So my advice to anyone starting out is just bring in more green, because the more you eat the greens, the better you're going to feel. And the better you feel, the more you're going to want to feel good. It's a cycle.
Well, thank you so much for getting the new year off on the right green foot for us, Alyssa. All the best to you.
Thank you, Gloria. Happy New Year, and drink up your greens.
Hi, I'm Echo on Granville Island, and this is our Vancouver.
Happy and nothing dies, faith will give you last words of the world, they won't be graceful. Nothing dies easy and nothing dies tasteful.
If you want to go and see some live music, Kingston, Ontario's The Glorious Sons play the Commodore for 3 nights beginning January 20th. And the Hallucination, formerly A Tribe Called Red, also play the Commodore January 27th.
We were just trying to show people our dream, and in showing our dream, it became a reality.
Hey, I'm Grant Lawrence here from CBC Music. Okay, if you were to take a look back at music in 2021, it sure felt as if it was the year of the rockiversary in Canada. That's right, all sorts of seminal albums and bands and record companies celebrated big anniversaries, and many of the labels are re-releasing the albums in deluxe anniversary packaging just in time for the holidays. So here's your quick run-through some of the most notable rockiversaries in Canadian music in 2021.
So bitter, baby, bitter but you're sweet. Oh, I would drink a case of you. And still I'd be on my feet. I would still be on my
Well, that's one of the best songs from what is generally considered one of the greatest albums of all time. Just a quick sip there of Joni Mitchell, originally from Saskatchewan, performing Case of You from her classic record Blue, which was released 50 years ago in 1971. Now for something completely different. Yeah, that is some very rare footage of the Vancouver band DOA performing a song from their legendary album Hardcore 81, which celebrates its 40th anniversary this year. That record was a hallmark because, trivia fans, it was the very first time the term hardcore was used to define a musical genre. Okay, moving on. How about these apples? Yeah, that's the Tragically Hip, Canada's band with Little Bones from the album Road Apples. That was their first record to go #1 in Canada back in '91, which means that record turns 30 this year. It's been remastered and re-released in a 5 LP box set or 4 CD set with a whole bunch of extras. Others celebrating rock-anniversaries this year include the 10th anniversary of Dan Mangan's breakout album, Oh Fortune, the 30th anniversary of Halifax Heroes Sloan, and the 30th anniversary of indie rock label Mint Records in Vancouver. But hey, check this out. It's been 40 years since Neil Osborne and Brad Merritt got together at a high school in Tawasin, BC to form 5440.
What is wrong with me? I'm not supposed to be happy all the time, but I'm willing to bet it doesn't matter yet, as long as she doesn't mind telling lies to me, lies to me. I don't wanna know what she really.
Crazy video there, very 90s, and a great, great song. Dare I say underrated. That is 5440 with She Lies to Me, that video from 1996. 5440 is celebrating their 40th anniversary this year. And did you know that despite multiple platinum and gold records and tons of hit singles like that one, 5440 has never won a Juno Award? Come on! Canadian Music Hall of Fame at the very least. 5440 or Fight is Right. 5440 years. Happy holidays and happy rock-anniversaries, everybody. I'm Grant Lawrence from CBC Music, and I'll check in with you again in the new year.
And coming up, the brain science behind making New Year's resolutions. Hello there and welcome back to Our Vancouver. I'm Gloria Makarenko. Now, with this ongoing pandemic, there has been some debate about whether making New Year's resolutions are helpful or whether we should just aim for self-care in general. Well, whether you set goals for yourself or not this year, it might help to know how to be successful. Kids News contributor Caden Tenaik explains the brain chemistry behind good habits.
What's up, everybody? I'm Caden Tenaik, and this is KN Explains New Year's Resolutions. You've probably heard the term resolutions, but do you know why we make them or how they even started? A New Year's resolution is a decision that people make at the new year that they plan to keep for the full year. People might decide to stop a bad habit, start a new habit, or accomplish a goal. Humans have celebrated the start of a new year for thousands of years. Historians and archaeologists have discovered evidence that the ancient Babylonians, people who lived over 4,000 years ago in an area that is now part of modern-day Iraq, celebrated their New Year in a festival called Akitu. Other cultures have their own New Year's traditions that dates back to thousands of years. For example, the Lunar New Year has been celebrated for thousands of years and continues to be celebrated by East Asian people all over the world, including in China and Korea. Jewish people celebrate Rosh Hashanah in the fall. And in Iran and other parts of the world, Nowruz, sometimes known as the Persian New Year, is celebrated in the spring. While these different New Years start at different points in the year, what these celebrations have in common is the idea of leaving the bad behind in the old year and starting the new year with good intentions and good luck. The most popular resolutions for adults in multiple surveys over multiple years are fitness and health goals, including losing weight and quitting smoking. Now, while those are probably goals kids shouldn't be too worried about, we can learn from adults' failures too. Goals like quitting smoking, they're hard to keep, according to research, because it's a lot harder to stop doing something than it is to start a new habit.
Because the habit system just becomes on autopilot
In more kid-friendly terms, that means it will be easier for most of us to start practicing the cello once a week than it will be for us to stop playing video games altogether. Okay, but first things first. Does it even make sense for kids or anyone to make a New Year's resolution? Well, here's what our experts think.
New Year's resolutions can be a little bit tricky because a lot of people set goals even if they don't really want to change.
We often set New Year's resolutions and then fall off the wagon really fast.
You know, it's important to think about what you want your life to be like, and if there's certain things you want to improve on, to set that as goals. And so New Year's resolutions can be quite useful for helping us do that.
The good news, though, is kids and teens and even young adult brains are still developing. This means that in many ways, the kid's brain is better at learning new things than the adult brain. Every single person's brain and their own needs is different from everyone else's. That's why when we set goals, it's good to remember not to compare ourselves too closely to others. At the end of the day or the year, whether or not you make a New Year's resolution is up to you. Are you planning to make a New Year's resolutions for 2022? My goal this year is to have 1 million followers by the end of the year. No. Why? Is that not a realistic goal? That's it for KN Explains. For CBC Kids News, I'm Caden Tonight.
This is our Vancouver.
Coming up, looking back at the huge success of a quiet, humble toy, the Rubik's Cube. You are watching Our Vancouver. I'm Gloria Makarenko. Now, as children and teens had an extra week of holiday, your homes just may have been filled with the big sounds of electronic toys, maybe video games. Now, 40 years ago, the most popular toy made very little noise. No noise. 1 cube with 6 colors, 43 quadrillion combinations. Here's a CBC story from 1982 when inventor Erno Rubik attended a cube competition in Canada.
In 1974 in Budapest, Hungary, a professor of design and architecture was trying to come up with a teaching aid to help his students grasp the spatial possibilities of three-dimensional objects. He was, he says, visited by a muse, and the muse whispered into his ear a formula for a puzzle that has taken the world by storm. It's the Rubik Cube, and the inventor, Erno Rubik, is in Toronto this week to promote his invention. We caught up with him at the Ontario Science Centre, where he was a judge at the first National Cubist Championship. Some of the fastest flying fingers in the country were there too. More than 1 million of these things have been sold in Canada. Worldwide sales figures are hard to estimate, but in 1981, about 20 million were sold. Those sales figures have made this man, inventor Erno Rubik, the only millionaire in Hungary. He was here to help choose the new Canadian Cube champion. He's Duke Trin of Kitchener, Ontario, who came to Canada in 1980 with his parents and 5 brothers and sisters. They were all refugees from Vietnam who spent 9 months in a refugee camp in Malaysia before coming to Canada. On Saturday, Duke Trin amazed Professor Rubik and a large audience at the Ontario Science Centre by solving the puzzle in 26 seconds, tying the world's record. The best cubists in the world all seem to be teenagers. Professor Rubik himself says cubists over 30 just can't cut it in tough competition. How do you respond when you see young people competing in a contest such as the one that was held here? Are you still fascinated when you watch them solve it?
That's an interesting thing. What's the best method, best way to solve the cube? It's not known.
It's not known?
No. Everybody has different way, and it's interesting which one and how it works, and that's an interesting thing.
How important is someone's age in trying to figure out this puzzle?
Usually the teenagers can do the cube much better, but I'm sure it's possible to start with it at 5, 6. I've met in Japan a 5-year-old girl and solved the cube in 2 minutes about.
3, 2, 1, go.
Why do you think young people are able to do it better than older ones?
The young people have much stronger feeling about the space, I'm sure, about the space relation. Not theoretically, practically. And to solve the cube is a practical thing. It's need logical thinking.
Now, before we wrap up the program for the week, we'd like to look back on the year, from the blazing heat dome to the discovery of unmarked graves in Kamloops to historic flooding. British Columbians have been through a lot this year, and our photojournalists Ben Nelms and Maggie McPherson were on the ground capturing all of those moments. So here is a look back at some of 2021's top photographs. And that's all for our Vancouver for this week. I hope you can join me weekday afternoons on CBC Radio 1 for On the Coast. For now, goodbye.